Kraetzer for Sons of the American Legion Radio, our weekly Army football huddle. We're going to talk about the game that took place out in Madison, Wisconsin on Saturday night, a 20-13 win by Wisconsin, but a game that Army had a chance with just 4 minutes to play to go length of the field to score a go-ahead touchdown. We'll also talk about the big game at Michie Stadium on Saturday, an expected sellout against Wake Forest, undefeated, nationally ranked. Going to be a good one. Now, let's go introduce our huddle members today. We have from Florida, SAL radio member Richard Miller. How are you, Richard?
Very well, Ken. Ready for some football talk tonight.
Very good. And from the Beat Navy studio in Huntsville, Alabama, we have Col Sam Houston' from the class of 1987. How are you?
Cheers, Ken. And to all of those future grads out there or recent grads, it's inevitable. You will assimilate. You will all one day be a drunk old grad.
Okay. Well, some of them anyway. And we've got Jack McGuirk from our SALRadio team, did our WVOX show today with me. Jack, how are you?
Doing very well, Ken. Starting to finally feel like the fall up here in the Northeast.
Yeah, it's funny how the weather, it was the same way out of Madison on Friday, Saturday, went from warm Friday to blustery Saturday, full day out there. And from Southern New Jersey, we have former Army football player Steve Chaloult from the class of 92. Steve, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great. Using the words of the great Bill Belichick, on to Wake Forest.
Yeah. Well, let's start by discussing the game that happened on the field in the photo behind me at Camp Randall Stadium. 76,314 at the game. The Wisconsin band did a tribute to West Point in its opening. And then a game which Wisconsin just totally dominated the first half, scoring 2 touchdowns, but only 2 touchdowns. And they missed an extra point when Andre Carter got his hand on the ball. So Army stayed in the game, and Wisconsin really did not really score an offensive touchdown in the second half. Army got a touchdown going 54 yards from Tyree Tyler in a 5-yard rush. And then really with just about 4 minutes to go in the game, Army got the ball back courtesy of the defense, which forced Wisconsin to punt 3 times straight. But Jabari Laws was hit at his own 19-yard line and caused a fumble, recovered at the 1. And that was a score for Wisconsin on the next play. But Army went the length of the field in 1 minute 59 seconds with an A.J. Howard 6-yard touchdown rush to narrow the gap to 20-14. Army tried an onside kick, but could not get the ball. So a disappointing 20-14 game. Let's hear everybody's thoughts on it. Let's start tonight with Jack McGurk. What were your thoughts on it?
It was, it was a close game. The first half, though, was kind of rough for the Army offense. The defense, actually, they really stepped up. On the first possession, they came up with first Wisconsin possession. That is, they came up with that strip sack and fumble recovery. On Wisconsin's next possession, it was a 3-and-out, and they kept them scoreless in the first quarter. So it was a nice start for the defense. The offense, it was kind of a rough game. They only had 266 yards total offense, 179 rushing. And you mentioned that unfortunate play near the end, the fumble by Jabari Laws. But the score remained a pretty close game, scoreless in the third quarter, but Army finally getting on the board in the fourth quarter. But ultimately, I guess it was that fumble recovery and touchdown that made the difference for Wisconsin.
Yeah. Richard, what was your thought watching the game? Were you able to watch from down in Florida?
I didn't have the network it was on. My thought on the game was, well, Army tried to keep it at Army tried to rally late, but ultimately Wisconsin prevailed. Wisconsin's lead early pretty much stood up, and I thought then in the second half as Army put up the 14 points, ultimately was not enough. I think the
No.
time of possession, Wisconsin controlled the ball a little bit more. That's just ultimately what happens.
Yeah.
One team that has more possession of the football is going to win. And even though Army, despite outscoring Wisconsin 14-7 in the fourth quarter, that was the only points. They were shut down the other 3 quarters.
That's true, but they had a chance, and that's what Jeff Monken said. He wanted a chance to be able to win the game in the fourth quarter, and just remarkable defensive play by Wisconsin, which we'll talk about. Let's go to Sam Houston. What were your thoughts on the game?
Before I say anything, let me just say that Army is 4-2. It's not panic time. I'd like to remind everyone that in 2017, I believe Army started the season 2-2 before they ended up finishing 10-3. And in 2018, they began 2-2 before finishing 11-2. So 4-2, good start. But let me tell you, the last 2 games have been rough. And this Wisconsin game is the signature broken record of Army football under Jeff Monken. As much as I love Jeff Monken, the one thing that is missing in the Monken era is the signature victory over a big Power 5 team on the national stage. And it always comes down, in all instances, it has come down to the offense being either unable to get it done or making a crucial mistake at a most critical moment of the game, whether it be the Oklahoma game when there were 3 minutes to go. Army had 1st and 10 on the Oklahoma 25. They got cute with play calling, and on 3rd down had an interception that ended what probably would have been, had it continued inside the tackles, the game-winning drive. Or Michigan, in the first drive of the second quarter, the first play goes down to the 1-yard line, and on the very next play on 1st and goal, Connor Slomka, a firstie of all people, for goodness sakes, has a false start on what would have probably most likely have been a Kelvin Hopkins keep for a touchdown. And instead that drive ended on a 3rd down interception by Hopkins, and then an inexplicable interception in double overtime that ended up being the loss of the game. But let's talk about this game just for a minute. Yes, the defense, my hat's off to the defense. Not only did they play better than I expected they would against that massive Wisconsin power football team, considering the amount of time they were on the field. I do not count that last touchdown Wisconsin game towards the Army defense. That's on the Army offense. Army's defense held Wisconsin to 13 points, and they held them to 80 yards in the second half. My goodness. We have a world-class defense, and we better get our act together on offense real quick, or we're going to squander this. To my point, first drive of the game, 3 and out, punt. Second drive of the game, 6 plays, punt. Third drive of the game, 6 plays, punt. Fourth drive of the game, 3 and out. Fifth drive of the game, 2 plays, halftime. First drive of the second half, 6 plays. Missed field goal, badly missed field goal at that. Second drive, 3 and out, punt. Third drive of the second half, the 8th time Army got the ball. 8th time, and this was, by now we're in the fourth quarter, Army finally gets in the end zone. And I do not blame Jabari Laws for what happened on that play. I question the Army coaching. Army had just gotten a first down. Tyler goes out. Jabari Laws comes in. Why in the world did we call a pass play on that? 1st and 10, you still got over 4 minutes to go in the game, and you called a pass play deep in your own territory. So, number one, it was the coaching, the call, and where was the blocking? It didn't happen, and we saw the end result. And the disaster that unfolded gave Wisconsin the gift they needed to put the game away. And kudos to the Army offense for pulling it together in the last drive that they had and jumping down the field. But just imagine if they had done that in the drive before, and in that case, been able to expend a lot of time off the clock and get that score. But it shouldn't have come down to that. Army's defense gave the offense a gift. The very first time Wisconsin got the ball, when they caused a fumble inside Wisconsin territory, giving the Army offense a short field. And the Army team had 2 weeks to prepare offensive play calling. And all we were getting for 2 weeks of preparing was just straight dive plays and quarterback keeps. Man, I just don't know. At this rate, we are never going to beat a team like Wisconsin or Michigan or Oklahoma, because for some reason we just cannot get all of the marbles on the offensive side of the ball into the bucket so that we can make things work. So my last take on the game is it confirmed, yes, Tyler is gritty. Yes, he is hardcore. Yes, he's determined. Yes, he's a team player. But I'm still here to tell you, he's a one-dimensional quarterback, and he is not Army's quarterback of the future for this season. There's my take.
Okay. And let's go to Steve Chaloult. Steve, what was your thought on watching the game and the outcome?
I was about as frustrated as me trying to get back in my high school skinny jeans. It was, I'm telling you, and it's difficult. It's difficult because I've been raised in the system, and I've been raised to, and you know, not only between football and the Army itself, of being a good soldier, and it's just a broken record, and it's so difficult to watch us just go to the well with a fullback inside, and their linebackers and their defensive tackles are shooting the gap and disrupting things and tackling things in the backfield and not adjusting to it. And I don't get it. I don't get it. And I'm frustrated, but I have to dump it. I have to dump that behind me, and I have to look forward to Wake Forest and find the positives in that and be positive for the game upcoming right now, because we really are. If I went across the board and I look at the quarterback, I look at the running backs, the A and the B backs, I look at the wide receivers, I look at the offensive line. The offensive line's a solid B. The quarterback is the way that we're running with Tyre, it's a D. It's just a flat out D. Fullbacks are an A if they get the opportunities. I don't know what the B backs are. The A backs are. And I don't know. I can't tell because we don't highlight them. And then the wide receivers, they're blocking and they're gritty in there too. So if our offensive line is a plus and our fullbacks a plus and our running backs a plus, why are we going to the playbook to highlight them in all the holes that we have, the A gap, the B gap, the C gap, the D gap outside, and not necessarily with the option? Run some ISOs, run some counters, run some traps. Let's open some things up. Nothing's going to stop a blitzing linebacker or a defensive lineman shooting the gap than them getting their ear hole taken out by a trap block. That is going to slow the heck out of them at that point when they get slobber knockered from the side from a guard coming 30 miles an hour.
Amen.
Yep. And we're not doing it. So I don't know what we have at A-back. We could be slashing them. Listen, I played with Cal Cass and Mike Mayweather. They got more yards inside than they did outside. And we were a true triple option team. it just loosens everything up. And I sat there and watched us try to punch our way out of a bag that it was a Kevlar bag. We weren't getting out of it. And it was frustrating. But I've dumped it and I've moved on to Wake Forest. Like I said, Bill Belichick on to Wake Forest.
Okay, well, let's stay on Wisconsin just a little bit longer. One of the, I charted out, we seem to have this analysis of how many plays are run by the quarterback, the slot backs, and the fullbacks. And the quarterbacks ran 22 times for 119 yards. The slot backs ran 9 times for 54 yards. And the fullbacks, or B-backs, as they call them at West Point, 19 carries for only 34 yards, not even 2 yards a carry, getting stuffed. They tried to go outside. Now, what did you guys think of this playing 2 quarterbacks? It seemed like Jabari Laws came in, brought some energy, complimented Tyler. One account said is every time Jabari Laws came in the game, the safeties for Wisconsin dropped back another 5 yards. Jeff Monken said he liked it. He probably is going to do it again this week. It's unclear whether Christian Anderson is going to be available. He said, I would say from Coach Monken's remarks today, it's unlikely. And Jamel Jones is out with an injury. So the next up is Cade Ballard. And that's a whole another style of quarterback. He throws it, but, he doesn't run it the way the other guys do. And then you even had Maurice Bellin on the trip as a possibility. So what's the analysis of the quarterback situation for Army? Sam?
I don't like it. You can't teletype to the defense when you're going to run versus when you're going to pass. And for Wisconsin, it was very clear. If Tyler's in the game, they're going to run. If Jabari Laws is in the game, they're going to pass. And yeah, the Wisconsin safeties, they were stacking the line when Tyler was in. They were backing up 5 yards when Jabari Laws was in. I'm sorry, but I don't like it at all. Army has got to put a quarterback under center who can provide the full opportunities of the explosiveness of the triple option, the true potential of the triple option. And the way the passing attack works is because the running game works. It sets the defense up by lulling them into the expectation of running to where receivers run streaking wide open in the defensive backfield. And by the same token, running the triple option correctly means, to Steve's point, that you're making the proper reads. And I just want to go back and say, last week we were talking about triple option football and we were talking about some options for Army. And, how about going back to the just true wishbone? How about doing some of the true wishbone plays with lead blocking? Boy, that sure would have come in handy against Wisconsin to have lead blockers, to be able to go to a jumbo backfield where you had all 3 of the B-backs in one backfield and 2 were lead blockers and one was getting the ball. That didn't happen. And the reason the B-backs were so unproductive as they were is because for some reason, the only play that we want to call for the B-back is just a straight dive with straight blocking. And quite frankly, against a stunning defense like what Wisconsin was doing by crashing the inside, it doesn't work. So why didn't we introduce a counter? Why didn't we introduce some trap blocking like Steve said? You want to bust the B-back open. Take a look at what Air Force is doing. I said this last week. They're running a clinic on how to run the triple option, the modern triple option, because let me be more specific about that. What Army's running right now is not a triple option. What Air Force is running is a triple option. They're using the modern set that was basically invented by Paul Johnson, and they're making it work. And the reason the B-back works so well is because the B-back doesn't run the same blocking scheme every single play, nor does the B-back run to the exact same hole every single play. So I'm telling you, we've got not one, not two, not three, but 4 260-pound fullbacks. Why are we squandering this? This guy right here, Pete Dawkins, he'd be mighty upset right now if he was on the Army team. He would love to have those big guys in the backfield. So figure out a way to get them into the scheme. And number 2, figure out some blocking that's going to get them running in space, because I'll tell you what, a defensive back does not want to see a 260-pound fullback running downfield at full speed. And that's what we want, because we want their defensive backs running scared and getting hurt by our fullbacks.
Okay.
We didn't create that opportunity against Wisconsin.
I know. I mean, you look at it, Jacoby Buchanan, 7 carries for 12 yards. Tyson Riley, 7 carries for 11. Cade Barnard, 2 for 5. And Anthony Atkins, 3 for 6. I mean, very
and Ken, if
low
I want
productivity.
And Ken, if I can add something to what you're just talking about, I'm glad you just said that. On the BTN network, they were talking about Jacoby Buchanan. They were talking about how he had never been stopped for a loss. Okay, that's great. So how many times has he been stopped for no gain? How many times has he been stopped for a half yard this season? Because it's been a lot. And that shouldn't be happening. He should be running in space. He should be lumbering downfield, hunting defensive backs is what he should be doing. Great that he's never lost a yard. But my goodness, if you're not getting him past the line of scrimmage, something has got to change. We've got to figure something out with blocking and play selection to get these guys lumbering downfield and putting the hurt on linebackers and defensive backs.
Okay. Now, Steve Chaloult, what's your thought on this on the quarterback situation and Coach Monken's practice now of playing Tyree Tyler most of the time, but inserting Jabari Laws in on passing situations and some others. I mean, Jabari Laws ran, how many times did he run? He ran 5 times for 11 yards, not with much success.
Yeah, I mean, the old adage is if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have any. And that's, I mean, I still hold that relatively true today. You know, if we're going to do that, and listen, when I play it, and I sound like I want you to get off my lawn when I say that, but I don't want to be that guy. But my senior year, we had an incredibly talented quarterback, Willie McMillan, who went down with a knee injury, and we brought a wide receiver in to play quarterback because he was the next most athletic player on the team. He couldn't throw a dime in an ocean if he tried, and we knew that, but we took a lot of pride in opening up the playbook and getting the ball outside and having that best athlete out there. We have a really talented offensive line, and it's only going to get better. And if we open this thing up a little bit more, we could do it with the quarterback we have. And Pierre can throw the ball within a 20-yard radius of someone, and that's all you need. If you're running the full complement, throw it out to space and let our wide receivers are 6'5", 6'6", and they can run, let them run underneath it. It doesn't have to be in stride. They can wait for the ball. But we don't need to be throwing on first down. I've been harping on that for 3 weeks now. It only puts us in 2nd and 10, and then we're behind schedule. So let's open up the playbook. Let's slash them a little bit. Let's use all of the players that are talented. We've got some really talented A-backs, and they're not seeing their opportunities. If you look at, I can't even say it. If you look at Air Force, I watch the game, I cringe. Because their A-backs are slashing, their B-back is running a complement of A, B, and C gap, and they're blocking it and they're having a blast doing it. And I'm watching us just get befuddled at the 3 technique, getting stuffed, and then the fullback is scratching and clawing for 2.5 yards. And we could help our quarterback so much if we allowed them to just hand the ball off a little bit and let this offense open up a little bit.
Okay. Now I just want to go back and go through the last couple of minutes of the game where Army scored early in the fourth quarter on a Tyree Tyler run, 5 yards. The big pass play in that was Jabari Laws I'm sorry, I'm looking in the wrong spot. But Buchanan, Walters had an 8-yard run, and Tyree Tyler had the 36-yard run. That's what I was looking to the Wisconsin 9. And Riley and Buchanan get a couple of yards, and Tyree Tyler takes it in. It is then 13-7 Wisconsin, and then they get the ball back, and they get 3 first downs, but Army forces them to punt inside their own territory at the Army 35, and they get a 26-yard punt. Army's pinned on the 9-yard line, and they get the ball. Tyree Tyler runs, Barnard runs for 4, and they're getting some momentum. Tyree Tyler gets a first down for 5 yards. Then Jabari Laws went in and goes back to pass. Now, who'd like to describe what happened?
Well, I mean, I've already described what happened, and I already questioned why did that happen? Why was a pass called on first down when Wisconsin was clearly starting to get a little tired? Number one, and number two, Army was finally making a few adjustments that they should have made early on. As a matter of fact, they should have come in the game ready to do these types of plays, and that was they were starting to exploit Wisconsin's perimeter with some running. And if Wisconsin had a weak point, and we pointed this out last week, if Wisconsin had a weak spot to run the ball to, it was on the perimeter. And once you start opening up the perimeter, you start opening up the inside game if you're having that problem and you can't figure out how to change the blocking schemes. But here we go. We got a first down. There's over 4 minutes to go. Army's still in their own territory, but they've got Wisconsin back on their heels a little bit. They're only down by 1 score. And a matter of fact, a score and an extra point takes the lead. Nice time-consuming drive takes the time off the clock that they would need to get down the field to try to a game-winning field goal. But instead, we call a pass play. And on first down, number one, if that pass play fails because it's incomplete, we're behind schedule already. Number two, if the pass play has a disaster happen, now we're in a real fix. Well, the worst possible disaster is what happened. The worst possible thing that could have happened, and that is that Wisconsin linebacker who was having the game of his life. He didn't need to be. He didn't need to be having the game of his life. As a matter of fact, he should have been busted by some blocking schemes a few times, put him back in his place. But we let him have the game of his life. He got free. Jabari Laws, for whatever reason, in his vision, was looking downfield and did not notice the near field, which was this linebacker coming right at him until it was too late. He tried to tuck the ball. The rest was history. The ball got knocked out, went flying. They reviewed it because they thought it might have been a forward pass. But here's the deal. Even if his arm had been a passing motion, it still would not have been a forward pass. He threw it backwards. And so even if it had been a pass, it would have been a lateral that rolled backwards to the 1/2 yard line, and Wisconsin recovered. And again, this is on the offense. I don't put this on the defense. It's not the defense's fault that this happened. So that's 7 points that Wisconsin scored in the fourth quarter. I don't put that on the defense. That's on the offense. The defense did their job. They held Wisconsin to 13 points. That, if I had known that last week, if I had some kind of premonition that Wisconsin was only going to score 13 points, I would have said, hey, I'm going to change my prediction. But hey, the thing is that the offense just did not get it done when they should have been getting it done. And when it was crunch time in the fourth quarter, number one, it was getting too late to make it happen. And number two, that one play made the game practically, it made the end, the final victor inevitable. because it gave Wisconsin the gift that they needed, just like Michigan got the gift that they needed, just like Oklahoma got the gift that they needed. And God, it's got to be frustrating to be on defense and see this happen when the game is starting to shift back in your favor.
Yeah, if you just cause Wisconsin to punt 3 drives in a row and got them to and stop their drive at the 35-yard line of Army. Steve Chalu, let me ask you about that play. Leo Chanel had 17 tackles in the game. He comes in from the right side. Nobody put a hand on it that I saw. I mean, wouldn't there have been a fullback, alongside Jabari Laws to try to pick up a blitzing linebacker?
You would think the difficulty is, and we see it with our quarterbacks when we throw too, it's not like our quarterbacks are going through a progression. They might look to one and then go to the second receiver, and that's giving them the benefit of the doubt. But most of the time, they have a primary receiver. You may have 2 people in the pattern, and they're going to chuck it, whether or not they're triple covered or not. I've seen it many times happen. That ball's coming out, it's going to that receiver, no matter who's around it, it's happening. And that's the same way with blocking. We just don't have the experience, and we're not running pass plays and figuring out what type of protection. Tom Brady, you always hear, 54 is the mic. You're not hearing that from these guys, because we don't care who the mic is and which way we're going to shift pass blocking coverage and what direction we're going to slide that. It's just not happening. So we're relying upon pass through deception, meaning a mesh and pulling out and throwing the ball, and that's giving us the time. If we're coming out of the shotgun, if we're coming out of that, it's going to be a whole lot different. It's going to be a whole lot. The fullback hasn't thought about, or running back hasn't thought about pass protection probably ever in practice or otherwise.
Well, you would think that they would work on that, because they're obviously working on pass plays. When I've been a practicer, they practice pass plays more than you would think. But I guess that was just, I don't know if that was a missed assignment, but there had to have been somebody, even a tight end, ready to make that block, because it really cost Army tremendously, letting Leo Chanel, I think it's got the potential to play on Sundays, to come in unabated and hit Jabari from the blind side.
I mean, I think he'll definitely go to the combine just on this game alone. But I don't disagree that they're practicing it, but the difference between all the different combinations, game speed, somebody who's a Big Ten linebacker doing that particular play, that combination is probably difficult to simulate and for them to practice against. And listen, I on to Wake Forest.
Okay. Well, let's give Richard a chance to tell us about some of the other big games in college football this weekend. Then we'll hear from Jack on Air Force and Navy.
Number 17, Arkansas suffers their 3rd loss, a 38-23 victory over Auburn. Auburn goes now to 5-2. LSU 49-42 over Florida. Both teams are 4-3. Florida is ranked number 20 in the country. Number 10, Michigan State is 7-0, a 20-15 victory over Indiana. Indiana is now 4-2 on the season. Number 12, Oklahoma State, and number 25, Texas. Oklahoma improves to 6-0, 32-24 over Texas. Number 21, Texas A&M is 5-2 against Missouri, now 3-4, 35-14 victory for the Texas A&M Aggies. Cincinnati improves to 6-0, 56-21 over UCF. UCF goes to 3-3. Number 19, BYU falls to Baylor. Baylor is 6-1 on the season. Baylor 38-24 winning that one. Purdue 24-7 over number 2 Iowa. Iowa's first loss. They're 6-1. Purdue is now 4-2 on the season. The number 1 Georgia Bulldogs improved to 7-0 30-13 over Kentucky. Kentucky is now 6-1 on the season. Number 5, the Alabama Crimson Tide. They rebound nicely, 49-9 over Mississippi State. Number 13, Ole Miss is now 5-1 on the season, a 31-26 victory over Tennessee. Tennessee is now 4-3 on the season. I think that's Lane Kiffin's return to Tennessee.
Okay, yeah, that was apparently a nasty scene out on the field with fans throwing bottles at him.
Yeah.
In fact, they pulled the cheerleaders and the band off
Yeah.
the field. What
Number
absolutely
22
unnecessary, shouldn't happen.
Yeah, shouldn't happen at all. Number 22, NC State, 5-1 now, 33-7 over Boston College. Boston College is now 4-2 on the season. Number 4, Oklahoma improves to 7-0, a 52-31 victory over TCU. TCU is now 3-3 on the season. Utah against number 18, Arizona State. Utah, a 35-21 victory over Arizona State. Utah is 4-2. Arizona State is 5-2. They're ranked number 18. Number 9, Oregon is 5-1, a touchdown victory over California, who is 1-5, 24-17. San Diego State and San Jose State take double overtime. Number 24, San Diego State is now 6-0 on the season, while San Jose State goes to 3-4 on the season.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Wow, Cincinnati 6-0. Big win over Central Florida. Baylor 6-1. Oklahoma State 6-0. Oklahoma 7-0. Any games stand out to you guys?
I will say, Ken, that Tennessee debacle was terrible. But if it's going to happen, it might as well happen to Lane Kiffin. I'm gonna throw that out there. I mean, if anybody deserves a golf ball, Lane Kiffin, he's the guy.
Okay, I don't think anybody deserves a golf ball thrown at them.
No, they don't. But after what Lane Kiffin did to Tennessee, I was more enamored by the bottle of mustard.
It's a condiment.
Okay.
Someone must have stole that from the concession stand, is all I can say.
Yeah. Cincinnati, though, 6-0. Strong win over Central Florida. They have a game against a team we know. We'll talk about in a minute. And Oklahoma playing well. Alabama continues rebounds from their defeat. And well, let's go to Jack McGuirk and hear about Air Force and Navy.
Well, I'll start off with Air Force. You're just talking about their offense a little while ago, and they improved to 6-1 with a 24-17 win over Boise State on the blue turf up at Boise. Air Force ran for 307 total yards and held the ball for 37 minutes. Brad Roberts, who entered the game leading the conference in rushing yards, led Air Force with 138 yards rushing on 28 carries. It's his third straight game of 100-plus yards and fifth game of the season with 100-plus rushing yards. Roberts came up with the first score of the game for the Falcons with a 4-yard run with 4:29 left in the first quarter. Air Force scored on both of their first two possessions, the touchdown by Roberts and a 25-yard touchdown run by Hazik Daniels early in the second quarter. Boise tied the score up at 14-14 with an 11-yard touchdown run by Andrew Burren, but the Falcons responded with a touchdown on a 1-yard carry by Brad Roberts with 6:12 left in the half. Air Force had a 21-14 lead at halftime, and both teams were scoreless in the third quarter, but Matthew DePore hit a 28-yard field goal with 2:49 left in the game, giving Air Force a 10-point lead. Jonah Dalmas kicked a 37-yard field goal for Boise State with 49 seconds left. The Broncos recovered an onside kick, but on the next play, Trey Bug III came up with an interception, sealing the win for Air Force. Bug actually had 8 tackles in the game, as did sophomore safety Canby Goff. Sophomore linebacker Alec Mock led the Falcons with 11 tackles in the game. Air Force is they're going to be returning to actions this Saturday, hosting nationally ranked number 24 San Diego State. We were talking about them last week. And Air Force, they're now 6-1, 3-1 in their conference, and Air Force is now bowl eligible. So we'll see what happens there. And Navy, they fell to 1-5 after a 35-17 loss to Memphis. Navy had just 241 yards total offense, 198 rushing, 43 passing. The midshipmen had 10 rushers for that 198 yards on the ground. Isaac Ruos led the team with 75 yards rushing. James Harris came up with the first score of the game for Navy on a 2-yard carry, tying the game at 7-7 with 20 seconds left in the first quarter after Seth Hennigan threw a 3-yard pass to Sean Dykes for Memphis. The Harris touchdown came on a scoring drive of 75 yards on 21 plays, which lasted almost 12 minutes. The 21 play campaign actually was Navy's longest since a 26 play drive in the 2004 Emerald Bowl. So that was a long drive for Navy there. The Tigers came up with another touchdown before time expired in the first quarter on a 69-yard touchdown run by Calvin Roberts. Navy had 2 apparent scoring plays nullified by penalties just minutes apart in the second quarter, and wound up with Bijan Nichols hitting a 39-yard field goal, trailing 14-10. Memphis came up with 2 more touchdowns on a 75-yard touchdown pass from Hennigan to Eddie Lewis and a 3-yard run by Brandon Thomas, giving the Tigers a 28-10 lead at halftime. Ty Labatai threw a 21-yard pass to Michael Cooper with 8:09 left in the third quarter for Navy, narrowing the Memphis lead to 28-17. However, Labatai left the game after a sack early in the fourth quarter. He passed for 27 yards, rushed for 28. Memphis scored again on a 4-yard run by Marquavi Weaver, giving them a 35-17 lead with 6:07 left in the third. Both teams were actually scoreless in the fourth quarter, but Navy is falling to 1-5, and this is going to be rough on Saturday. They're going to be hosting Cincinnati, who's nationally ranked number 2. So not going to be an easy weekend for Navy.
No, it's not. And they are going to continue, unless they get an extraordinary performance, they're going to continue to struggle. Now, shift to Saturday. Michie Stadium, Wake Forest, undefeated, 6-0. Coach Munkin said today on his conference call, this could be the best Wake Forest team ever. Not holding anything back. They've got wins over Old Dominion, Norfolk, Florida State, Virginia, Louisville, and Syracuse, and they learn how to win the close games against Louisville 37-34, and in overtime over Syracuse, their last outing 40-37. Dave Clausen and Coach Munkin know each other very well. They coached together at the University of Buffalo over almost 30 years ago. And what stands out for Wake Forest is they are passing the ball for 270 yards, rushing for 171, and 441 yards a game on offense. And they got a quarterback, Sam Hartman, 63% completions, 14 touchdown passes, and 159 quarterback rating. So he looks pretty good. What do you guys think? Sam, what's your thought on Wake Forest?
Yeah. First, let me just say, to go back to the Navy and Air Force games real quick, and then I'll talk about Wake Forest. Right now, I'm going to tell you who Air Force reminds me of. Air Force reminds me of the 2018 Army football team. And why do I say that? Because they are running excellent offense, and what's more important, they don't flinch. And that's what scares me about Air Force this year. They don't flinch. Things will go wrong in the game. They come right back. They pick themselves up. They dust themselves off. They get their collective cool back, and they go right back to business. And that was something that was lacking from Air Force last year. They had it a little bit, but not all season. This year, they got it. And what they are running on offense right now, this is graduate school, Paul Johnson triple option. What Army's running right now is first grade Paul Johnson triple option. So there's some things that need to happen in the next 3 weeks before we meet up in Dallas that level the playing field just a little bit, because quite frankly, I think San Diego State is going to walk away from Falcon Stadium with their first loss of the season, and Air Force is going to walk away ranked. So I truly believe that Army is going to be playing a ranked Air Force team when they meet in Dallas in 3 weeks. As far as Navy's concerned, yeah, they got problems. And, you know, we've talked about Navy, and their schedule just gets worse. I mean, they really are running into the buzzsaw, and their injuries are starting to mount up. So they suffered a number of players getting helped off the field in their game against Memphis, and I don't think it's going to get any better against number 2 ranked Cincinnati. And by the way, this weekend, all 3 service academies are going to play a ranked team at home. I don't know when the last time that happened, but again, all 3 service academies are playing at home against a nationally ranked team. And for Army, it's Wake Forest. Here's what scares me the most about Wake Forest. Not their record, not the teams they played. What scares me the most about Wake Forest is they had a bye week. And unlike Army's offense preparing for Wisconsin, which apparently they just sat around a campfire making s'mores while the defense got ready, I really believe that Wake Forest's offense is going to have some wrinkles come Saturday that Army's defense has not seen before. And it's going to make for some very scary situations early in the game. Wake Forest is extremely talented, and they're talented on both sides of the ball. I agree with Coach Monken's assessment that Wake Forest might be fielding the best team they've ever fielded. And believe me, they want nothing more than to first win the ACC, second, have a national ranking at the end of the season, preferably in the top 10, which is not a stretch at this point if they win the ACC. And number 3, they would love nothing more than to go undefeated. And a speed bump on the way to making an undefeated season and that national ranking that is to their liking is playing the Army team at Michie Stadium. And they remember what happened the last time they played Army. It was in 2016. I was there. It was Wake Forest homecoming. And Army rose to the occasion after kind of a rough first half, and they stuck it to the Demon Deacons in the second half and sent them home losers on their own homecoming. Man, imagine the pain that they were feeling. I was there. I could see it in their faces. To have scheduled Army thinking that it was going to be a patsy for your homecoming, and Army came in there and gave you a drubbing. They want to come into Michie and provide payback, believe me. Now, none of the players that are on the team right now were even a part of that team, but the coach was, and he remembers it. And so, believe me, they know the coach and his staff know Army triple option, or when Army actually runs triple option, which they were doing in 2016, by the way, with Ahmad Bradshaw. They've also been watching the game film, and they've been watching the different Army quarterbacks. They understand the play that they bring to the table. They understand how dimensional the offense can be, depending on which quarterback is playing. And they'll be ready for it. And they're going to bring some wrinkles on defense, too, that are going to make life pretty tough going, even though Wake Forest is not as big as Wisconsin. They're not as talented, or their statistics do not add up against the run like Wisconsin did. Army's going to find some real tough going from the outset on offense. So both sides of the ball are going to get tested early. And a real key to the game is going to be how quickly Army, on its 1 week of practice and getting ready for Wake Forest, can make some adjustments that can possibly exploit what Wake Forest preparation has brought to Michie Stadium. That's going to be the real X factor, that and who plays quarterback at Army. If Army goes in with this Tyler, Jabari Law's 2 quarterback thing that they were doing at Wisconsin, I think Wake Forest is going to eat that alive, to tell you the truth. They watched the game film, and they saw what happened. They saw what Wisconsin did right, and they saw what Wisconsin did wrong, and they're going to prepare for that. So they got an extra week on the table to see some more game film of Army. So I'll be at the game, though. I'm going to be with Steve Chaloult, and we're going to be partying and having a good old time. And we hope to cheer Army to victory. But I'm just going to tell you straight up, it's going to be tough.
Well, expected sellout at Michie Stadium. I understand there are just a couple hundred tickets available. I would call tomorrow morning early if you want to buy tickets to the game, and that'll be exciting. They've been having less than about 25,000 or about 25,000 to the 3 prior home games, but I think there will be quite a number of Wake fans coming up, and that's fun. But it's going to be good to see Michie Stadium full and exciting atmosphere. Steve Chalu, what's your thought about Wake Forest? They're averaging 39 points a game and giving up 21. And okay, some of that was against Old Dominion and Norfolk State, but they scored 35 against Florida State and 37 against Louisville and 40 against Syracuse. So they know how to move the ball. What's your thought on Wake Forest coming to Michie Stadium?
Yeah, I mean, I think this game could be, Sam talked earlier about getting that big Power 5 win. This game could be as impactful for that, just not with the big name that you would get out of a Wisconsin or a Michigan or an Oklahoma. But this team is very, very talented and are doing great things. And I'll tell you, I watched them play against Virginia a few weeks ago, and they slung the ball around. And Virginia, who has got an incredibly talented left-handed quarterback, they just got behind and couldn't catch up. So I think the theme for us is going to be, if we get behind, how far are we going to get behind? And how quickly is that going to happen so that we get off of our schedule? And I talk a lot about being on schedule, but if we can stay on schedule, because listen, if you're a betting guy, take the over on the 52. This is going to be up and down the field. And our ability to slow down the game will be key, but Wake Forest doesn't stop the run very well. So I think we can run the ball on them. I think we'll score some points on them. This is going to remind me a lot of the San Diego State bowl game when it went back and forth right to the very end with Penny played and that was down in Texas. Incredibly entertaining game, and we played inspired. This game kind of going into it reminds me a whole lot more about this. I'm a little bit more bullish on this game than I was against Wisconsin because of Wisconsin's ability against the run. I think we're going to move the ball. I have a feeling Connor Bishop, he dressed last week but didn't play. I think he's back probably this week. I think that shifts the offensive line around to its natural configuration. I think we run the ball a little bit better. And if we can make 1 or 2 stops and get that quarterback to tense up a little bit because the number of series they get is fewer, we could be in a position to win this ball game. And this could be the big win, signature win that we're looking for, albeit it's not a signature name.
Well, it's going to be an interesting one, yeah, because Wake Forest knows how to throw the ball. This quarterback, Sam Hartman, looks like he could be better than the quarterback we saw from Western Kentucky in September. And they've got a linebacker, Luke Masterson, can put pressure on the quarterback, 5 tackles for loss so far this year, 2.5 sacks. So they can make some plays on defense, but Army's got to find another angle. And as Sam said, try and find another way to utilize the fullback, something perhaps where they run to the outside. And again, just keep the slot backs in play. Tyrell Robinson had a good game against Wisconsin, and get him and try to get a passing him. But I think everybody's a little concerned about this 2 quarterback complementary quarterback concept. And it may not, it'll be interesting when Christian Anderson comes back, certainly by the Air Force game, what they do, whether he is still the starting quarterback if he's healthy. Sam, what do you think? If Christian Anderson is healthy, do you think he's back in his starting role?
Absolutely. Because when Christian Anderson is in the game, you do not have to have a situational quarterback come in on passing downs. Christian Anderson has really been having a breakout season. And as much as we maligned him last year, he matured as the season progressed. And the first glimpse of what Christian Anderson was going to look like this season was the fourth quarter game-winning drive against Air Force last year, when he directed one of the greatest Army football game-winning drives in a service academy game in academy history. I mean, really, it's going to go down as one of the greatest drives ever. And that's the maturity that he's been bringing to the table this year. So when he's healthy and he's ready to hit the field, he should be the starter. He's earned it. His play on the field has been the most productive of any person they put under center this season. And if he's healthy to go against Wake Forest, he should be the starter. Now, I still want to say this. Before the game started, they were showing some of the warm-ups on BTN, and they showed the Army quarterbacks in the end zone doing their little ball drill, which is cute. And the very first thing I exclaimed to the group of West Point Society of the Middle Tennessee Valley who are assembled there to watch the game, I said, "Hey, look, a Cade Ballard sighting," because there he was. It's the first time I'd seen Cade Ballard in uniform this year, because well, I mean, he was at the Georgia State game, but what I mean is that was the first time I'd seen him on TV. Like, my God, he is there. He's dressed. And Cade Ballard, to go back to something Ken said earlier in this huddle, yeah, he does bring a different running style to the mix as opposed to Jabari Laws or Tyler Tyler. He's not as fast as they are. He's bigger than both of them. But here's what my limited observation of Cade Ballard was last season. He understands how to distribute the ball effectively, and he can pass the ball effectively. So he brings the ability to be a game manager to triple option football. And the truth is, that's what Christian Anderson has been doing this season. He's been managing games when he's been under center. He just happens to have made some excellent reads on a few plays that have led him to have explosive gains. And he has shown an innate ability to run the ball in traffic and under duress. Cade Ballard has not had that opportunity yet. But like Christian Anderson, from what I've seen of Cade Ballard, he does play the role of an effective game manager. He's a winner. Guy's never lost a game as a starter ever. And he understands how to distribute the ball. So he might not be as effective a runner. I think that's more of a statistic of the fact that he distributes the ball more often than he keeps it, which is not true for Tyler Tyler. So, if Christian Anderson is unable to go, what's the possibility of Cade Ballard hitting the field against Wake Forest? I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm just being wishful thinking here. But I do fully believe in my heart of hearts, my black and gold and gray blood that flows through my veins, that the two quarterback system that they ran against Wisconsin is not going to work against Wake Forest either.
Okay. Well, before we get to our lightning round, I wanted to say thank you to a couple of the West Point alumni that we met out of Wisconsin. Ed Lawson, who told me about his career. He was an engineer coming out of West Point, and then was in the Corps of Engineers, and then became a lawyer and a patent attorney. Works out of Milwaukee, and he put together a tailgate for over 1,000 alumni, which was a terrific event. It was about a mile from the stadium at a high school on one of their fields. And great job. And then on the Friday night, we had a chance to go to the Wisconsin Veterans Museum right across the street from the state capitol. A lot of great exhibits of the service of veterans from the state of Wisconsin, from the Civil War on. A lot of flags that they told about when they came back from Civil War battles, they would bring the flag back to the governor of the state, all shot up with holes, and present it to the governor. And they have all those flags and in the museum, and some are on display, some are in storage. And we heard from West Point grad Colonel John W. Hall, who is teaching professor at the University of Wisconsin. He has a specialty, wrote a book on the Indian Wars that he wrote on. And he is also with the U.S. Central Command, and we had a chance to hear his talk at the Wisconsin Veterans Museum on Saturday night.
Yeah.
Excuse me, on Friday night. Saturday we were watching football.
Hey, Ken, quick question for you. If my history serves me correctly, during the Civil War, one of the Wisconsin regiments had a falcon as their mascot, and during battle they would let the falcon fly overhead on the battlefield, and it's signified if you've ever been to the cyclorama in Atlanta. One of the things on the cyclorama painting is that falcon flying overhead as the Wisconsin regiment is attacking the Confederate lines outside of Atlanta. And my understanding is I think that falcon is actually, it's an eagle, not a falcon.
An eagle.
Someone's going to like jump on me and like, oh my God, old Brad got it wrong. No, it's an eagle. And if I'm not mistaken, that eagle is actually preserved and at that museum. I don't know if you had a chance to see that particular eagle. And then one other thing I want to say real quick is I want to make sure that we don't call it a night before actually, expressing our sincere condolences at the passing of General Colin Powell.
Yeah.
Good point, Sam. We talked, Jack McGurk and I talked about the passing of General Powell on our show today with a friend who worked with General Powell when he was National Security Advisor in the White House. And what a great American from the Bronx, New York, ROTC graduate of City College, worked his way up in the Army, served in the Persian Gulf War, served in Vietnam 2 tours, and advanced to the highest level of leadership as chairman of the Joint Chiefs, first individual from ROTC to make that position. And then, of course, serving as Secretary of State, a great American, and our condolences to his family. Anyone else like to make a comment on the passing of General Colin Powell?
I would just say, be thou at peace, warrior. You and generals like Norman Schwarzkopf, you came out of the Vietnam War and you had a mission, and that was to rebuild our Army and to create a military that understood how to fight and win our nation's wars. And the military that generals like Colin Powell and Norman Schwarzkopf created and built out of their vision that came from Vietnam was on full display during Desert Storm, which I believe was one of the greatest military feat of arms that our armed forces have ever put into the annals of American history. So again, you weren't a grad, but that doesn't matter. Once we're all in the green machine, we're all on the same team, and you earned it. Colin Powell, you were a true warrior, a great statesman, and we appreciate your service to this nation, which was a life of service, and just be thou at peace, warrior.
Well,
see you on the playground.
Col Sam Houston, my dad was always thought so well of General Powell. They're both U.S. Army officers who grew up in the Bronx, New York, and what a career of service that he had. They talked about his 35 years in the U.S. Army and his commitment to service in the Army, and then also serving in the government at high levels, and then going working for supporting volunteer groups, many to help teach leadership skills in young adults. Now let's go to Richard. What are some of the games coming up this weekend, in addition to Wake Forest traveling to play at Michie Stadium against Army at 12 noon.
Let's see. Some of the games actually heading up for this weekend. Or let's see if I can get it up here. Yes, for this weekend, week 8 in college football. Coastal Carolina, number 14 is facing Appalachia State. That's going to be on Wednesday. Coastal Carolina is 6-0. Appalachia State is 4-2. Tulane is taking on number 21 SMU. SMU is 6-0, while Tulane is 1-5. Navy and Cincinnati. Number 2 Cincinnati is 6-0, while Navy is 1-5. Number 3 Oklahoma is 7-0. Kansas is 1-5. Number 6 Michigan. Jim Harbaugh's Michigan Wolverines are 6-0, taking on Northwestern. Northwestern is 3-3. Michigan is 6-0. Number 7 Penn State is 5-1, taking on Illinois. The game we're most interested, number 16 Wake Forest, 6-0, taking on Army, which is now 4-2 on the season after a couple of rough games. Wisconsin is taking on number 25 Purdue. Purdue is 4-2 on the season, while Wisconsin is 3-3. Number 8 Oklahoma State is taking on Iowa State. Iowa State is 4-2. Oklahoma State is 6-0. Number 10 Oregon 5-1, taking on UCLA, which is 5-2 on the season. Couple of 3:30 games. LSU is taking on number 12 Ole Miss. Ole Miss is 5-1, while LSU is 4-3 on the season. Number 23 Pitt 5-1, taking on Clemson. Clemson's 4-2 on the season. Alabama Crimson Tide ranked number 4, taking on Tennessee. Alabama is 6-1, trying to still rebound after one of their earlier losses. Tennessee is 4-3 on the season. Number 22 San Diego State is 6-0, while Air Force is 6-1. Number 24 UTSA is 7-0, taking on Louisiana Tech, who is 4-2 on the season. Number 5 Ohio State is 5-1, taking on Indiana. Indiana is 4-2. Number 13 Notre Dame Fighting Irish 5-1, taking on USC, which is 3-3, a 7:30 game. Number 17 Texas A&M 5-2, taking on South Carolina 4-3, and the last game on that list, Miami 2-4, taking on number 18 NC State. NC State is 5-1 on the season.
Very good. Thank you, Richard. And let's go to our lightning round and start with Jack McGurk with a prediction of Wake Forest at Army.
Well, I think it's a safe bet to say the team in black and gold is going to win this game.
Okay, you got that one out.
Yeah. I look at the odds right now, and Army is actually 3-point underdogs in this game. As you mentioned before, Wake Forest, they averaged about 170 yards rushing per game, but they also averaged 270 passing. So this is a game where the Army secondary really needs to step up. And Wake Forest isn't that great against the run game. So hopefully the Army triple option offense will be in full effect. And they'll use pass the ball around, spread it around. Also, Army has a 13-game home winning streak on the line. And I think this could be the signature win for them. And I'm going to go Army 31-28 with the upset over Wake Forest. And hopefully they'll get that their triple option offense going, or they might get an earful from Steve and Sam who are going to be at the game.
Yeah, and you're counting on a field goal for Army. But hopefully Col Sam. He had a very disappointing kick against Wisconsin. It was 42 yards, and it wasn't close, and it would have put a little bit more pressure on Wisconsin. Okay, Richard, what are you going to go for?
I'm going to go for Army. It is time to wake up. It is time to play like the team you can be. You got to be on alert. That's why I am taking Army at home against Wake Forest by a field goal, 31-28.
Okay, so you and Jack are on the same page.
Yeah.
Okay, and who would like to go next? You want Steve Chaloult? Would you like to go next?
Sure. Army comes out. They establish the ground game. They rebound. They beat Wake Forest. And we're going to go with 35-26.
35-26. Okay. So they're going to lose a couple of points along the way, or they'll pick up how are they going to get to 26?
Do you want me to do? I mean, I thought this was a sports show, not calculus, but I can well, put that on the.
Okay, it looks like I think you got to get a
whiteboard that out
safety to
for
get
you
to
if you like.
26.
Oh, calculus.
26 is one of those numbers you don't want in a bet in a pool on a game.
That's like a 19 pool, right? Winning the game by 19.
Yeah.
19-0.
Okay. So 35-26. Okay. So we all think, and that's picking Army. So we all think so far Army's going to have at least 31 points. Okay. Sam.
We're at a crossroads of Army season. And the real question in the Army locker room, are we going to be the team of 2017 that rebounded after 2 losses early in the season? Are we going to be the team of 2018 that rebounded after 2 losses early in the season? Or are we going to be the team of 2019 that just continued a losing streak and basically fell apart in the locker room and had their season culminate with a disastrous blowout at the hands of Navy? And many of these players that are on the team now were on that 2019 team. And I know that they do not want that to happen. They know the mystique of Michie Stadium. The last time the mystique of Michie Stadium was disrupted was in 2019 when Army had another double-digit winning record at Michie Stadium on the line, and Tulane came to town and basically put a whooping on Army and ended the streak. And so, and then Army went on to lose another game or 2 at Michie that season before they got the streak going again. So they want to take the streak to 14. They want to make sure that they make a statement that this is not the Army team of 2019. This is the team of do not flinch of 2017. This is the team of whatever it takes to win and brotherhood and next man up of 2018. And Wake Forest are undefeated. They're coming to town. They've got swagger. They've got talent. They got everything going for them. So the keys to Army's victory are going to be to come out of the gate with an attitude, with a chip on your shoulder. Do not commit any turnovers, period. So win the turnover battle. Win the time of possession battle. They did not win the time of possession battle against Wisconsin. It's the first game this season. Army did not win time of possession. Neither did they win the rushing battle against Wisconsin. But they need to win the time of possession, and I'm going to be more specific with that. No turnovers, 40 minutes plus time of possession for the Army offense. Finish the drives with touchdowns, not field goal attempts, and force Wake Forest to have to punt on at least 2 times they have the ball in both halves. That is the formula for Army to win this game. And I think they're going to get it done. I really believe that the leadership on this team is right now. They're having meetings every night saying, we are not 2019. We are 2021. We're the team that destroyed Georgia State on opening day. And by golly, we're going to look like game busters, and we're going to bust up Wake Forest perfect season at Michie Stadium and bring the streak to 14 games. It's not going to be easy, though, so don't let my rhetoric make it sound like I'm going to set up a blowout prediction. No, actually, it's going to be a lot closer than that because Wake Forest is damn good. So
Okay.
Army is going to win the game. It's going to be close. It's going to be 35-31. Army brings Wake Forest perfect season to a close at Michie Stadium. And then I go back to the tailgate with Steve Chaloult and we toast a few more drinks in celebration of the victory.
Okay. Maybe I can join you after we finish in the press box. Well, I think Army's got to find a breakout offensive performer. They either need a quarterback, Tyree Tyler, or someone else to come in and run for 150 yards. They need Tyrell Robinson to come and have a 150-yard game, a breakout performance. They need one of the fullbacks. I think Anthony Atkins has an in him to have a 100-yard game. They need one offensive player to do what one of the Wisconsin players did, ran for 150 yards, Braylon Allen. Tyree Tyler ran for 96. They need somebody who can run and start and carry the team and draw the defense. I just hope, and I think Army can find it. This would be the big stage for that to happen. I have a concern about how long they can go with the two quarterback, the situational quarterback, as Sam described it well today. We'll see. Jabari Laws brings something in. He's got some energy. He's a very talented player his sophomore year. I'll never forget those plays he made against Air Force to bring the ball down the length of the field when it looked like the game was over for Army that day. Defense, played well. Andre Carter is becoming more and more a star, and he needs to have a big game. He needs to have a 2 or 3 sack game. And the defense just has to find a way to generate a couple of turnovers. I think they just might. That's their challenge, is to get a few turnovers, make it tough, get Andre Carter, all over this quarterback, Sam Hartman from Wake Forest, and then they got a chance. So I'm going to sign up for, I think Army's going to go get into the 40s and get to 42 and limit Wake Forest to 24. So I'm going 42-24. I think maybe I'm being a little underestimating of Wake Forest, but I think Army's, to have a chance, they're going to have to score a lot of points. And I think it's a day for one of their players or a couple of players that break out offensive performances and get to 42 points in the game and outplay Wake Forest with the talent Army has on defense. So that wraps it up for tonight's edition of the SALRadio Army Football Huddle. And I'd like to thank everybody. Anybody have a final comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to say there was something good about Wisconsin that is not necessarily true about the other Big Ten or big Power 5 games that Army has come up short in the past few years. And that is, I was very pleased to see that there were very few injuries that I could see that are going to hobble Army moving forward. So thank goodness they came through that big bruising Wisconsin game there at Camp Randall Stadium and came out relatively intact. So that bodes well for the rest of the season.
Yeah, Coach Munkin said in the press conference that everybody who played on Saturday would be ready for Wake Forest. They said there were bumps and bruises, but he said they were more disappointed than they were physically hurt. But it's a pounding when you play a big physical team like Wisconsin for the offensive lineman, the defensive lineman taking the blocks. Okay, let's say thank you to Richard Miller down in Florida. Steve, did you have a comment?
Yeah, this is pretty interesting when you think that in the rankings right now, Air Force is ranked 30th in the nation, Clemson 26.
Yeah,
kind of put things in
Clemson
perspective.
having an off year this year, and Alabama's got a loss. What's Alabama ranked?
Right, I think 5th right now. Yeah, they're ranked 4th, and with the one loss, they are going to have to put it on everybody from here on out. So if you're on their schedule, they're not letting off the gas. Whether they're up 50 or 60, they need to make sure that they are putting up points to be in that top 4 teams.
Okay. Let's say thank you to Richard Miller down in Florida. Thank you. Good job tonight, Richard.
You're welcome, Ken.
And Col Sam Houston from the Beat Navy studio in Huntsville, Alabama. Good job. Thank you, Colonel.
Thanks, Ken. Next time you'll see me, we'll be at Michie Stadium. Well, unless you come to Steve Chalout's tailgate before the game, or if you're in town Friday night, you come to the Sprint game. But I can't wait to get back to my Rockbound Highland home to see Army in this 2-game skid against Wake Forest. So I'll see you there.
Okay, I look forward to it. And Jack McGuirk, thank you from our SALRadio WVOX team. Good job on your reports on Navy and Air Force.
Thank you.
Pleasure. And Steve Chalu from South Jersey, thank you for your analysis of the Army offense. And we'll look forward to seeing you on Saturday, which should be a great football atmosphere at West Point, 40,000 people at Michie Stadium. One of the college football games that the eyes of the nation will be on.
Yeah, fantastic. We're excited about this game. I will tell you, if you're going to the game for the first time and you're watching this show, get there early. It's not easy to get on post. And if you're in the A-Lot area, come by before or after the game. You'll probably see Sam, Ken, and myself drinking an adult beverage, celebrating a victory.
Well, maybe some coffee before the game.
Oh.
And yeah, but we do recommend the game's 12 noon. So you really want to be there by not much after 9 o'clock to get parked, get through security, get parked. There's going to be the first time we've had real lines to get into the post, as has been said. And if you get there real early at 9 and get there at 8 o'clock, you can go up and watch the review of cadets, which is generally scheduled for 9 o'clock. It'll be listed, and you confirm that on the West Point website. But if you've never seen a parade or review by the West Point cadets, it is something special. And then Black Knights Alley will have lots of activity starting at around 10 o'clock. The Benny Havens Band, who we saw perform out in Wisconsin Saturday, will be there. And the team arrival at 10 o'clock is always fun to cheer the team as they walk from their buses into through Black Knights Alley to their locker room to get set. And the West Point Band will start their pregame performance at approximately 11:30. As they march onto the field performing Brave Old Army Team, they'll serenade the visiting team, and then you'll have a march on of one of the regiments of cadets. And the weather will have the national anthem, presentation of colors, and the cheer of the rocket. And then hopefully, if the weather cooperates, a parachute drop before the Army team enters the field and gets a big rousing welcome. Okay, that wraps it up. I always recognize the 2 million veterans of the American Legion we're proud to represent, and also the 330,000 members of the Sons of the American Legion serving America's veterans. So that's all for tonight. Thank you for watching. See you at Michie Stadium on Saturday, or you can watch it on the CBS Sports Network. Take care.